My name is Claire Hadley. I'm 34. On my wedding day, I stood at the cake table and counted 4 empty chairs. My father. My mother. My sister Brooks. And Steph, my best friend since 10th grade. They were 40 minutes away at Brooks's engagement party, the one my mom scheduled for the exact same afternoon. I lifted the knife. Daniel's hand warm over mine. My phone buzzed. My mother's text, "We need to talk now." Then the calls. By the time the cake was cut, 36 missed calls. I didn't answer one. What none of them knew was already in a county filing cabinet, signed 3 years before, waiting. Welcome back to Lineage of Lies, where the daughter who handled the midnight emergencies and the bills nobody else would open is finally telling the story. If you've ever planned something that mattered and watched the people you love choose someone else's celebration instead, stay right here. Those 4 empty chairs are about to mean something. To understand the empty chairs, you have to understand who I was in my family. I'm a hospice nurse. I've learned that families show you the truth at the edges. In my family, I was the edge. I was the one you called when the water heater died, when Dad's prescription got tangled, when the property tax notice came. Brooks was the one you called to celebrate. That was just the weather in our house. When I planned my wedding, I mailed my parents a real invitation and drove it out to the farm. My mother, Carol, sat on the porch with a binder. She took the invitation, set it on top, and kept talking about Brooks. I asked if she had the date right. Of course. But she didn't write it in the binder. She wrote everything in that binder. I felt the old cold, "You are not the headline here." Go back 3 years. My father had a stroke. While he was in the hospital, a letter came. The farm note was 90 days past due. Foreclosure. My parents had been quietly drowning and told no one. I was 31 with $84,000 saved, one double shift at a time. I sat in the hospital parking garage and decided in 4 minutes, would save the farm. But I didn't just hand over the money. Some careful part of me knew that in this family, a gift would be forgotten like water forgets a stone. So I did it on paper, with a lawyer. A promissory note for $95,000, signed by both parents. And a lien recorded at the county courthouse. The house became collateral. Then I went back to being the reliable daughter and never spoke of it. Here's why I did it the careful way. While my father was in rehab, I overheard my mother on the phone. "Once Roy is back on his feet, we might refinance, pull money out. Brooks will need help someday. She can't do it on her own like Claire can." She was already planning to leverage the farm I hadn't yet saved, for Brooks. So I called the lawyer, not to trap anyone, but to protect myself. Because a promise in this family was written in disappearing ink. Now, the engagement party. My mother called me at the hospital. "Brooks is engaged. You'll understand, Claire. A wedding's just a party. Family is about who you really show up for." I stood in a supply closet with the smell of antiseptic and understood perfectly. She wanted me to hear the ranking. Then Steph. I called about the final dress fitting. A pause. I might have a conflict that weekend. Your mom called. Brooks reached out. My mother had recruited my best friend. Steph said she hadn't realized it was the same day. We both heard how thin that sounded. I didn't cry. I was saving my crying for things worth crying over. The official invitation came from my cousin Marie, a screenshot. The date was my wedding date, the time an hour before my ceremony. I called my mother. "Mom, Brooks's party is the same day as my wedding." She sighed. "We can't split the family 2 ways, Claire. People have to choose, and it isn't fair to make them." As if I were forcing the choice. I stood in my kitchen and felt something go very quiet. "Okay, Mom. I hope it's a beautiful party." She softened instantly, the way bullies do when you stop bleeding. "You're being so mature." I hung up before she could hear me laugh. That night, Daniel found me at the kitchen table with the seating chart. He asked if I wanted to move the date. I felt relief. No. If they want to come, they'll come. If they don't, that's their answer. We pulled the 4 chairs, then put them back. Leave them. Let the chairs say it. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I opened a banker's box I'd moved for 3 years and never touched. Inside, a manila envelope, farm, important. The promissory note. The lien. And a letter from my grandfather, written a year before he died. One line stopped my breath: land doesn't go to the one who's loved most. It stays with the one who keeps it alive. I held it in the dark. The real story was in my lap. Saturday came cold and cool. We married in a restored barn. I looked out once at those 4 empty chairs, and my throat closed. Then Daniel said my name, and I came back. My hospital friends filled 2 whole rows. The room was full of people who chose me. That's the thing about empty chairs, they make the full ones impossible to ignore. At sunset, we cut the cake. My phone buzzed. We need to talk now. Brooke. Mom. Dad's landline. I turned the ringer off, sliced through lemon and elderflower, and kissed my husband. 36 missed calls. Whatever it was could wait. At midnight in the hotel, I put the phone on speaker. The first voicemail, my mother bright and brittle. By the 5th, her voice high and thin, a woman watching a plan come apart. Then Brooke, furious and wet, I don't know what you did, but you ruined everything. I sat in my wedding dress and felt curiosity. Because I had a good idea what had happened. Here's what I pieced together. The engagement party. Farmhouse backyard, rented lights, 60 guests. My mother stood on the porch and announced they were giving Brooks and Tyler the farmhouse, free and clear, a wedding present. Everyone applauded. Then Tyler's father, a careful man, asked, "Is the property free and clear?" My mother beamed, "Of course." Except it wasn't. There was a lien recorded 3 years ago, and the name on it was mine. The daughter whose wedding they'd all skipped. Within 90 seconds, someone pulled up the county records, Tyler's father holding up his phone, the screen lighting his face. My mother's beautiful gift became a public, documented problem with my signature at the bottom. Sunday morning, I sat with Daniel and opened the envelope all the way. The lien was ironclad. The farm could not be given away without settling my debt. I met Walter Bell, the loan officer. He confirmed, "The lien is yours to release or enforce." I told your mother the truth. The record speaks. The texts poured in. "You ruined my engagement party. Tyler's parents think we're frauds. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Not one asked how my wedding was. Not one said congratulations. The story had rewritten itself, I was the villain. Then my father called. His speech slurs since the stroke, so when Roy calls, he means it. "Claire, I knew about the lien. I signed it. I remembered. I let your mother give away your house because it was easier than telling her the truth." His voice cracked. "Every time I look at you, I see the girl who saved us, and I'm ashamed." It was easier to look at Brooks. She never saw me weak. That was the apology I'd wanted. Then he asked me to sign the release. "Let me have peace." I said, "Dad, I'd give you anything, but I won't give you that. If you want peace, we make this fair." My mother summoned me to a family meeting. Aunts, uncles, Tyler's parents, an audience. I brought my paperwork. The living room was full. My mother began before I sat down. "My daughter is holding a legal claim over our family home, put there secretly. We gave Claire everything, and this is what she does." The weight pressed on my chest. "Be smaller. Sign the thing." Then I felt the envelope and remembered I was the woman who'd kept this house standing. You're right, Mom. Honesty is best. I walked to the coffee table and set the envelope down. 3 years ago, the bank sent a foreclosure notice. Dad was in the hospital. I had $84,000 saved. I gave it all, plus $11,000 more, to save this house. Not as a loud loan, as a quiet thing on paper. I laid the promissory note on the table, their signatures plain. Then the lien. You may have forgotten. The county didn't. My mother went white. I kept my voice level. I'm not taking the house. I'm just the reason there's still a house to give. I looked at Tyler's father. The lien is real. I didn't hide it. My family chose not to remember. My mother exploded. How dare you humiliate us after everything we sacrificed? You ungrateful, calculating girl. I stood in that storm and felt calm. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just done pretending the paper doesn't say what it says. Tyler's father stood and asked Tyler to step outside. Brooks's face came apart. Then my cousin Marie said softly, she's the one who really showed up. My mother's own words, turned around. 3 years ago, when this farm was 90 days from the auction block, exactly one person had shown up. And it wasn't the daughter they threw the party for. Before I left, I offered a way forward. Get the farm appraised. Put everything on the table. If Brooks and Tyler want a future here, we build it honestly, with everyone's name on the paper. No more speeches. Just the truth. My father nodded. My mother said nothing. I walked out through the kitchen I grew up in, down my grandfather's gravel road, and I breathed. In the weeks after, Brooks and Tyler postponed the wedding. Brooks was furious for a while, then one day she called and asked, "Did you really work doubles for years?" I said yes. She was quiet. "I'm sorry I never knew you." Then she asked, quieter still, what was nursing school like? The first time my sister ever asked about my life. We're not close, but we're honest now. The farm was appraised. My parents refinanced. I was paid back. My father visits. He sits at our table, and Daniel makes him coffee. I understand now, his coldness was never about loving me less. It was shame. My mother and I talk less. She has never apologized, and I've made my peace. Some people can't afford the mirror. Steph texted a long apology. I read it twice. I haven't written back. I loved her for 19 years, but I noticed the day she showed me where I ranked. I kept the wedding photograph of the 4 empty chairs. I don't find it sad anymore. I find it clarifying. Those chairs told me the truth my family spent 30 years talking around. The cake was lemon and elderflower. It was delicious. The room was full of people who chose me. I spent my whole life believing that if I carried enough, I'd finally be the headline. I was wrong. I didn't need to be the headline. I needed to put the suitcase down. Being the one who holds everything together doesn't mean you owe everyone your silence. And it never meant you owed them the right to forget what you carried. If your family only calls when they need something, you are allowed to stop answering. You are allowed to let the truth speak louder than the apology you'll never get. Share this with someone who's always been the reliable one. Tell me your story in the comments, and subscribe to Lineage of Lies, where the quiet ones finally get the last word.